Hi and welcome. My name is Cheryl Bradley and I'm a spiritual medium. And I am the host of this podcast, If It's Light, It's Right. It's a platform that that speaks to my every piece of essence of both my being and my spirit. So I felt it was important for you to know who Cheryl Bradley is. So I will bring you down my path and just explain some big pieces, some big stops along my way just to let you know me a little bit deeper. I don't carry very many notes. I really just speak from my heart and in my channel. So I'm going to just go in chronological order. So I was born, as we all are, or incarnated. I'll use that word instead. And very much an ordinary childhood. Nothing drastic up or down. Just a very middle class, happy childhood. And as I grew, and I'm trying to remember as far back as I can remember, I want to say I was probably 7 or 8 at my earliest moments of not understanding at the time, but now understanding the intuitive, or the mediumship, the psychicness, whatever word you choose to use, and just my sense of spirit. We moved into a very old house, and some of you might relate it as it gives me the creeps, and it did back then. But I now know when I look back, it was just full of spirit and being so not knowing at the time, but so open to spirit, it did feel a little creepy. It felt as though I was always being watched. It felt as though I didn't like to be alone in there, but I truly never spoke to anybody about it. And I would just lay in my bed and I would hear the steps creaking as they kind of come up. And I would just huddle in my bed and just pray that please keep me safe, please keep me safe, please keep me safe. And I also would always see faces. I would see faces that would just, I didn't understand the difference between my human eyes and my mindfulness, or my third eye, but I now know that it was more my third eye than my human eyes. And faces would just come right up to me and it was just a head, just a face, just look at me with eyes of um, all different emotions, and I would never speak to them. I didn't know what they wanted or who they were, and I would just not speak to them. And I would always see a vortex, and I always felt like I was being compelled to go into the vortex. And I don't feel like it was a bad place. I didn't feel like it was an evil place. I just didn't understand it. And again, I never spoke about it. I never told anyone. I just felt as though everyone must feel and be this way. And so that is a lot of my early childhood that I recall. Um, and come to find out that house was very full of earthbound. It was a house that had a devastating death in it. There was actually a suicide in that house. And not only that, remnants of that energy was there, but there was also more. And people of light, or people that are open to psychic or mediums in particular, uh, we're we're almost like a beacon out there. And so spirits are always magnetized to that beacon. And not knowing what to do with that, I now know that I was visited very often. But I want to say I felt as though I pushed it down early on in my age. I pushed it down. I always saw faces. That never did leave me, but they slowed down a bit. And I'm really going to speed forward now into my teen and my 20s and my 30s, and combine that with, I was extremely intuitive. I would know without knowing why I know things that would happen, or people were going to say things, or I would finish sentences, or I was very intrigued with people and their paths, and curious, always curious, always curious. I was coined nosy quite often in my adult years, but and I always honor people in their perceptions and their truths, but I know in my heart I was nosy. I was so curious. I wanted to know facts, 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 facts. So I understand how people would interpret it that way, but that was never. Generally, I am still imperfectly imperfect as everyone else is, so I can't say I wasn't nosy at times. But for the most part, when it came to paths, I was just very curious, and in the programs that I chose to watch, and I now know all supported what my higher spirit knew of me, but my humanness didn't choose to kind of open to. And as I move through this process, and as I'm moving through age, and having two beautiful, wonderful children that were just instill out of the apple of my eye, woo, that was where I was supposed to be. So when my children, deep breath. When my children began to find and move in their life's paths in a deeper fashion, and reaching midlife, and I had two major deaths in my family. They were, of older nature. They weren't tragically, but they were the tip off of uncovering where I was to go, uncovering my lighted path. And so in this spiritual journey, in this podcast, you're going to hear so many pieces of not only my personal voyage in my life and my path, but also those of others, that clients that I will absolutely share, because it's you will see that you're not alone in yours. You're not imagining things. You are of light. And I hope that this podcast brings that out to you, because I'll coin the word, a rebirth almost. So when those deaths occurred, they came to me in my dreams. And I have to say, I'm not a huge dreamer at this juncture in my life, because I'm so full of spirit, and able to talk to spirit anytime I need to, that my higher spirit doesn't need to talk to me so deeply in dreams now. And again, dreams are a beautiful curriculum that I created with spirit as well. I'm sure we'll head into that in down the line, but I'm coming back. So two key people in my lifetime passed away. One being my father-in-law, and his visit to me was something that I knew was something very different. He gave me messages, he gave me conversation, and I knew that this was something big. Like, this wasn't just a dream and to tell loved ones that he visited. This came from me, for me to move forward. And then shortly after that, my grandmother passed away, and but before she passed away, my grandfather visited. She was ill with lung cancer, and he came to me in a dream, and it was just like I was talking to him. And he wasn't my favorite person on this lifetime, in this incarnation, so that was part of the process too. And I said, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" And he said, "I'm here to take Grammy home." And I was just moved by that. And so when I saw my grandmother the next day, and she was in the throes of lung cancer, and she understood that. And I saw, oh, get a little emotional. Emotions are truth, so always embrace them. All right, so that's a lesson. Just taking some deep breaths. So that was the beginning of my mediumship awakening. So not soon after that, I also know that that was what I intended to happen. I was not ready to move deeper into this lighted path, because I had children to raise. I had check marks. And once that was complete, not that you haven't finished being a mom, but once that was complete, now it was my time. So here I am. And after those dreams, that was about 10 years ago, I started really opening up, and feeling empowered, embraced, like, wow, what is this that comes? Because once you truly open to light, the you receive so much. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. So that's going to be part of our process as we kind of move forward in this journey. Um, but I was wide open and a sponge. And I know now that that was part of my path, that this was the time that I was just going to awaken, at warp speed. And so I was getting messages. I was getting people's loved ones coming into me. And I was getting all these messages. And I am clairvoyant, so I can see pictures. I am clairaudient, so I can hear messages. And I certainly can feel and know. And those are all, again, parts that we will walk on this journey together with. So I would be able to give them the evidence and the messages that came through. So um, I have to say, I had a lot of bravery to say, hi, Sarah. That's not a real person's name. Hi, Sarah. I know your mom's passed, but she visited me. Are you open for a message? And she'd be like, okay, what is this, Cheryl? This is not a Cheryl that I knew. Um, and that gained people, and it also lost people in my life because of what is this new piece that Cheryl is going into? And again, I try always never to judge in spirit. I am perfectly imperfect, as I said before. So judgment is part of this emotional journey, this journey on this planet. But when I am in spirit and when I'm welcoming spirits, I trust boundaries that people place. I trust people's perspectives. I give them that space. I just always ask, I will not judge you, do not judge me. And that really is just the fine line that I draw. Anything else? Be curious, be a skeptic. Just don't be a cynic. Choose differently. And I always try to abide by that in my light as well. So moving forward, so I started, giving messages. I kept a journal. I would meditate every night, and people would always come, and I said, I feel I need to do something more with this. So as I kind of walked my journey, I was brought to locations, and maybe we'll get to that in a deeper fashion, of where to start start doing my spiritual mediumship professionally. And let me just differentiate real quick between a spiritual medium and a psychic medium. And please know that I'm not splicing hairs here. I speak completely from my heart. And I always say, when I speak from my perspective, that's where it stays. You take what you need and leave the rest. My understanding, my belief and my faith knows that we are all born psychic. We have all psychic ability because we are all of light. We have varying levels of light depending on many different circumstances that, again, we'll explore as we kind of go through these. I hope you can join me for more podcasts. But a spiritual medium is, and let me just back up a second. I just got told to back up. So the difference between a psychic and a medium is a psychic reads energy. They read and understand energy. And certainly energy is part of the other side. But a medium can speak. I always say a medium has to raise their frequencies as high as they can go, and the other side has to lower their frequencies so we can meet and communicate. So a medium is able to do that more efficiently and speak and communicate vastly from the other side. So that is just a very quick interpretation of how I describe psychic and mediums. And so when I add the word spiritual into that realm as well, spiritualness is speaking on people's paths and directions and the reasons why we're here on this earth. It's not only to say, oh, grandpa's coming in to say he loves you and remember all the fun things that we did, because we do need to hear that communication from the other side, and that is part of my readings as well. But my readings are more rooted in spirit. So grandpa, let me give you an example. Grandpa might come and say, I see that you're I always use the word bump. You're having a little bump, maybe mentally, a little bump, not able to to kind of understand what's kind of happening in your life right now. You're in a little bit of chaos. So he would come in, and this is where the spiritual mediumship feels for me, is he will come in with direct messages. For instance, this is not all of this lifetime. You're bringing this in from a past lifetime. Or I see that this is going to get better. Work on this aspect of yourself. And in the spirit world always comes through with what we need, and always in light and love and guidance. My readings never come through with darkness or warnings. I don't truly believe that's what the lighted side ever comes in with. But again, I try very much not to judge others' work. But they come in with guidance and spiritualness, and they know your paths. So they speak with directness and love and encouragement, and sometimes understanding of responsibility. So when I say that my spiritual mediumship is rooted in spirit, those are the essences. Those are the pieces that get brought through in readings when I'm in with loved ones, but that also come through with me outside of readings. When I have questions or I say, I don't understand, why is this A, B, or C? I listen and I hear where I need to go. I hear my truths. And I have to always say too, we all have the collective same truths. I really, when I open my channels, I really am just a validator. Our hearts know all the same truths. We sometimes say things a little differently, or a different word. Sometimes that word just needs to change, or sometimes we're just not ready for certain understandings of truth. But I always trust when the universe filters for a loved one, that they are ready. And I feel like the filtering is already done on the other side. I really am just delivering. I am really just a channel of seeing, feeling, and hearing those messages and delivering them as best as I can in that communication. So in my journey, have opened many locations, and I do those connections to spirit, always connections to spirit, mentoring, helping others to understand that you are psychic, that you can get the same answers that I get. There's nothing that stops you other than you being not open or having your heart open. So here I've come to this journey, and I have to tell you before I finish that it was about 7, 8 years or so ago, and in talking with spirit in my private meditation, I was told I would be retiring because I was, or I'm still in my heart. I'm a public school teacher that I just loved. Did it for 21 years. Ooh, got emotional again. Life's path. So I was told I would have to retire in 2023. And I said, no way will I be able to retire financially or otherwise. And they told me I would be too busy to do both. And when I tell you, spirit was completely right on. I couldn't do both. It was just too overwhelming to give everything I could during the day, and then at nights and weekends working in my lighted path. So I did retire. I am completely 100% into my lights work, and I do classes, I do workshops, but here is my next step, is podcast, because I want to reach as many open hearts as I can. I want to let you know that you're not alone in this journey, that there is a battalion of lighted spirits just cheering you on from the other side. And I want you to open your heart and feel that. So when I say if it's light, it's right, it's an essence of mine, but it's also a reminder that you have that light, and that whatever decisions you need to make, or questions that you have, or as we walk this path together, there'll be so many instances of leaning into. Does that feel light to me? Do my thoughts feel light to me? Does this decision feel light to me? Does this where I am right now in my life, is that right? And I always say, light doesn't mean happiness. I hope it does, but it doesn't always mean happiness, because we're not on this journey for pure happiness. We're here on this journey to ascend our souls to a higher level, and And this plane of existence, this emotional plane of existence, is the most difficult of all planes. So we are here to learn, to experience, to find just that sliver of gratitude amidst our challenges that sometimes we do put forth in our lifetime, and sometimes we are the recipient of others' free will that has made life more difficult because of. But we come in knowing that that is part of our choice, our free will and our free choice to be here. So know that if it's light, it's right is a beautiful spiritual tool to kind of keep in your pocket when or if you ever want to try and use that. And we will keep this podcast is really I feel the foundation, and I hear the foundation of this podcast is kind of building on that if it's light, it's right. And then where we go is really where I get channeled. So that is Cheryl Bradley's journey to where we are right now. This next huge, beautiful, lighted step being a podcast, reaching as many loving, open hearts that I can, and knowing that don't ever, myself included, don't ever accept anything being told to you. Open your heart and see what feels right for you, what feels light and right to you, and accept that. Take what you need and leave the rest. If it's light, it's right. Have a beautiful day.